Como Borough Council Workshop Meeting to order. We have one item on our agenda that is proposed ordinance regarding traffic flow and parking. Welcome everyone. Just to give a brief background on where we're at with these discussions and to clear up some misunderstandings that may have happened up until today. At no time has the council made any resolutions or ordinances that are in effect for the Borough of Lake Como at this time. This discussion that we're having stems from a discussion that began back in the spring among the council about making some changes to street directions, seasonal street directions, parking, etc., traffic speed. It's a conversation that comes up with our council once every couple of years. And at that time in the spring, we had a workshop meeting, not unlike this, except it was on Zoom, where we asked the public to come and give their thoughts and their opinions. We did have many residents give their thoughts and opinions on what they believed was the best for Lake Como. What stemmed from that meeting was that we had a traffic study done by our engineer, which was delivered 2 meetings ago to the council. The council then took that input and we had a subcommittee for the traffic plan with Councilwoman Doyle, Councilman Morrow, and Council President Whitty, in which they came to the last meeting and made some suggestions from that subcommittee. Those suggestions were then carried over for this workshop meeting. I asked our Borough Council to draft a mock ordinance. Mock ordinance, is that okay? Okay, mock ordinance. With the entirety of the suggestions. This does not have to be the ordinance that the council takes action on. During the workshop meeting, we will discuss the suggestions that are in this ordinance. We can add, remove, change, adjust, whatever we would like. After we have that discussion, we will open to the public for their comments and their questions that can add to what the council is talking about, and then the council can discuss again. After that time, if we want to, a council person can make a recommendation to move this ordinance to the agenda for the regular meeting. If not, we can table it to another meeting, or however the council would like to proceed from there. So with that, I'll ask council, furthermore, there are 2 large maps that are portrayed in the room. These were made up by our borough engineer to coincide with the traffic study. I believe that it is actually the last page of the actual traffic study. And all around has the suggestions that came from the council and the potential alternatives. So you can see that there are a lot of moving parts, there are a lot of opportunities, there are a lot of pieces that can or may not happen, and that's what we're here to discuss tonight. If I ask the council to look at the sample ordinance or the mock ordinance that we have, you can see that in the second paragraph where it says the Borough Council has determined that it is the public interest to convert Newman Street, 18th Avenue between New Bedford and B Street, Bradley Terrace and Greenwood Terrace to one-way roadways, to extend the weekend parking prohibition to holidays and provide for tow-away, to convert the intersection of Newman Street and 17th Avenue to a 4-way stop, to convert the intersection of White Street and 17th Avenue to a 3-way stop, and to install speed humps on 17th Avenue and 18th Avenue. That is a lot. That is a lot that we have discussed, and that is a lot that is delineated in the sections below. We can take them piece by piece, and I'm going to first, I'll open it up to Councilwoman Doyle to kind of talk a little bit about the subcommittee and what happened in that subcommittee. And in that paragraph that I just read, I know that there were suggestions and alternate suggestions, so not everything in there would be part of the ordinance. So you want to just fill in the council a little bit about what the subcommittee was talking about.
Right. So we were talking, because obviously we were concerned about safety, we were concerned about speed, So we were trying to find a way to be able to kind of make the town a little safer to travel around, especially during the summer, because that seems to be the most prevalent area, except for in the area of Newman and 17th, because that was going to be year-round, because that's an issue kind of traveling through there. You know, the concern kind of arose from, we were talking with the chief, police, fire, EMS, trying to get through in such a time where it would be very difficult, as we all know. So what we looked at was how could we get the best flow of traffic around town and make it the safest? And that was really what we were discussing and how we came up with the suggestions that we came up with. You know, we looked at one-waying other streets, making other streets no parking on one side, and, you know, we know that we have an issue with parking in our town to begin with. So we didn't want to take any of the parking away. And one-waying the streets seemed like a great way to be able to help the ease of traffic move through and also be able to maximize the parking we have and not lose any of it. So that's kind of where we were with and how we came up with these suggestions.
So just to go back a little further, when we had the workshop meeting in the spring, the two top ideas that came out of that meeting were, one, the traffic study, but two, the feeling that we got from the residents that they wanted there to be a safe movement throughout the town, but they did not want it to hamper residents, the people living in the town. And the big promise, I think, from the council was to come up with ideas and discuss ideas that were going to create a safe environment for our residents. And, you know, even using the word to protect against the increased traffic flow and increased population during the summer. So that, as we're discussing this, that is definitely one of the tenets I think that we need to keep in our mind when we're talking about it.
I think the thing that got me the most was when we found out from the study that the majority of the accidents that happened in town happened with a stationary vehicle and one moving vehicle. That tells you that it's not safe to move around town. So I think that's where we were coming from, that we've seen too many accidents, we've woken up to too many mirrors, too many doors being scraped on the side. And we need to fix that. We need to allow for the residents to be able to feel safe in travel.
What was discussed about, and if you can go a little bit further into, and I'm not picking on this, but you can jump in.
Not at all, not at all.
The discussion of having these in place during the summer as opposed to having them year-round for any of these ideas. Because what we have right now is we do have summer directional roadways.
Right. So the ones that we chose to have or are suggesting to have be year-round were the ones that the residents were finding were the most difficult to travel during the off-season in addition to the peak season. The ones that we were suggesting to do the seasonal is where there's a little bit easier of a flow. We weren't finding that there was much congestion, that people in the neighborhood were complaining about backups of traffic and standoffs and feeling like their cars are going to be hit every moment. So those sides of town, that side of town, wasn't having that same impact year-round.
The roads are year-round would be Newman, Redden Avenue is already done, and 17th Avenue, putting the 17th Avenue four-way stop and a three-way stop on 17th Avenue.
So you're recommending to the council that the 17th Avenue direction would be full year?
It'd be two ways, but you have a four-way stop on 17th and Newman.
So 17th Avenue would be two ways, the way it is right now, two ways.
Right now. In the summertime, we would make it one way, but in the wintertime, it would be two ways and putting a four-way stop at 17th and Newman and a three-way stop at 17th and William.
So the way this reads is not that.
What's
It's
the
saying,
way-
it's saying 17th is westbound, year-round, and if it's not, then we would have those three-way and four-way stops.
Right, and the note that I made on here, that 17th Avenue needs to have that little asterisk next to it,
Okay.
where at the bottom it says from May 15th to December 15th, so that needs to be adjusted. absolutely.
Newman Street is very, very narrow on Newman Street, and there's like, a lot of little houses, there's no driveway, so we can't take on parking. So we made it the best way to do it, make Newman Street one way going southbound into 18th Avenue.
And that was your round.
You're right.
So other suggestions of, so for instance, the other suggestion would be 18th Avenue between Newman and B Street, that would be a seasonal?
Yes.
Yes.
Same thing with making Greenwood,
Now, Greenwood and Bradley, was that an alternative to the 18th Ave, or was that
In addition to.
in addition to the 18th Ave?
Mhm.
and New Bedford would be seasonal also.
Correct. So all three of those would be seasonal. 19th Avenue would stay two-way. The idea is to stop the circle of traffic that comes through. If we can get all the traffic to head in one direction, and the parking to head in one direction, that will make it safer to pass through and easier to pass through on both of those streets. Because if you look at the map, the way Greenwood and Bradley come into 19th, that's the dead end. So it's sort of landlocked as opposed to the other streets that have other exits. So what winds up happening is the bulk of traffic comes through there and it becomes very difficult to pass through. And again, you'll have two cars head to head and then you'll have 3, 4, 5 cars backing up behind it because there's no place for cars to move over to allow other cars to go through. So we were trying to ease the flow of the traffic by doing it, and by doing Bradley heading southbound and Greenwood heading northbound, that keeps in line with the traffic that happens in the north to south streets in Belmar. So it would be in line with B going south, Greenwood would then go north, and then Bradley Terrace would then go south. So it keeps in line, it keeps with the flow. The same with B, New Bedford to B, it keeps the flow of traffic moving with what's happening in Belmar.
So the one thing I was confused in here, sorry, Holly, real quick, the one thing I was confused in here was the 19th Avenue eastbound. I don't remember that being discussed
It was
as a
not.
possibility, right?
It was
So
not.
that would be something that we would take out of this.
Correct, that was what I was asking about, yeah.
Right, that was, I mean, we tried that in the past and it
Correct,
didn't work.
correct, that
So
was
that would
that
make
was
it
something
two-way.
that we were talking about, that was done in the past, why couldn't we do it, what happened? And we said that that wasn't a good idea, so that comes out.
Can I just make a point, if that was to come out, on Bradley Terrace, you'd have to have somewhere,
Signage,
you'd have to have
Yes,
signage that they
correct.
couldn't go past Greenwood.
correct. Because we don't want people coming up to a dead end, realizing they can't turn right, and then turning around, that defeats the purpose, so we need signage, correct, agreed.
Holly, I'm sorry.
My point was made already.
This would force all the traffic in the summertime out to Walmart.
Or up 18th,
Out 18th is the one way going eastbound.
correct, but people can come in, go out north, they can travel up 18th, they have options to get towards, they can head east, and then they can head out.
Not from Bradley Terrace.
No. They can go up Bradley
They can
onto
go-
19th and then go out Beach North, yes. But on Greenwood, they can go to 18th.
No, they can't. 18th is gonna be one way towards the ocean.
Right, they're gonna go out, east,
Correct, right.
yes. And then they can turn up B, correct.
And would that be just seasonal?
Correct.
Bradley,
Yes.
Greenwood?
Yes,
So what's being offered, yeah.
So the only thing that's being offered right now year-round would be Newark.
Stop signs.
and the freeway stop and
But Bradley is that one or
the, are seasonal, correct.
okay.
Bedford and 17th would continue to be seasonal, there would just be
Yes.
addition of stop sign.
Correct.
So, also as
Redmond this season, Phil?
Redmond is,
No,
it's currently all year round. The other update, we talked about adding traffic signals at 17th Avenue. In looking at, the estimate was pretty correct that it would cost almost $400,000-$500,000. So it was something that we would have to put on hold for now.
The stop signs would be year round.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
I thought there was discussion about the Bradley Greenwood Terrace one-ways and the 18th Avenue one-ways being one or the other. Like if 18th Avenue was one way from New Bedford to B Street, that the need to change Bradley and Greenwood into one-ways would not be.
We didn't discuss that. I think what will happen now is that you're still gonna have people coming, they'll be able to head east on 18th if we make it eastbound from New Bedford to B to continue on. But then people are gonna come in and they're gonna be forced back out. So it's gonna create a loop.
Anything else?
Yeah, I'm just curious about, how you guys came up with the, stop signs, like in the winter, like needing those in the winter.
Well, we're doing it to slow down the traffic. If you have stop signs, then you're not gonna speed down 17th Avenue. It's gonna slow the traffic down. You have to stop.
So there's already one on 17 on Newman, right? So then, I guess I don't.
In the summertime, there's one on White Street.
Right.
So we get sure to make them all year round.
Right, so that'd be the only real difference, year round, I guess if it feels like it's needed, that's fine, I just wondered how that came about in their discussion. That's-
I think it was to slow it down.
Yeah, because there, like I said, there's already the one stop sign there, and then
Right,
if
so
you're
the
going
difference would be
four-way-
leaving the one on White Street all year round,
Right,
and then adding stop signs to move
right.
across streets.
So if Newman's one way, are they needed? You know, I'm just curious, I'll do that.
Chief, do you have any opinion on the stop signs, four-way stops?
Well, as the New Jersey traffic manual, you're not, stop signs aren't supposed to be used as a traffic calming device. It's been proven that that's not what they're there for. But I know, what is it, 17 is stop both ways, right? Not Newman?
Correct.
Correct.
Which is the only street on D Street and Newman that does not have a stop
This
sign.
does not have stop
Which I guess was Florida when they hit Lake Como.
sign. I mean, it's definitely gonna slow down traffic, because you're gonna have to stop. I don't see a con on not having it there. I think, we have them, again, through Belmar on D Street, on every, street, so to keep it consistent.
And that's something that we discussed, is
Okay.
that, you're heading south or north, and it's the only one, if you're coming through Belmar and coming into Lake Como, that's the only intersection that
Yeah.
doesn't have that stop sign if you're coming all the way through.
Yep, understood.
And it makes it a little easier just to kind of fly through, and apparently,
On
people have been cutting
on
through
Newman,
and not
fly through?
stopping
When you say fly through, you mean on D or Newman?
on Newman, from D to Newman. And also people aren't necessarily stopping, heading east to west, because it's not the same as the flow that's in Belmar. the stop signs are coming this way, not necessarily this way. So it was trying to keep in line with that as well.
Okay. I was just curious about, again, about what the discussion was around that on the committee, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Louise, you have a question?
Did it come up in the last meeting that 18th Avenue's emergency evacuation route?
Yes.
It is.
It comes up, I'm sorry.
It comes up 17th Avenue to New
Okay.
Bedford out 18th Avenue. So it doesn't come up 18th Avenue because that's a one-way.
New Bedford is the.
New Bedford is the evacuation route from
Oh, okay.
17th Avenue
Okay.
to New
Just wanted
Bedford.
to make sure we
And
weren't taking that, okay.
in looking at it, it's a county and state direction,
Right,
and it's the fastest route to a county road, which is 18th Avenue.
18th Avenue, okay.
There is a way that you can do a county road to 16th Avenue, but it would take you up in turn, a couple of different turns to get to where they need to be, so that's why they have that direction.
Okay,
Because truthfully, from everything that I've seen in my research, the evacuation route does not really begin until you hit the railroad tracks on 18th Avenue. The directional that you
Okay.
see between the beach and 18th Avenue is just directions how to get to the
How to get there.
evacuation route.
okay.
It's because they're
Okay.
only county roads or
Right.
state roads.
Great, okay.
Mayor, when you were asking about the either or of Bradley Terrace, Greenwood, or the 18th Avenue from New Bedford to B, in one-way Bradley and Greenwood, you're asking, would it even be necessary to do the one-way on 18th? Is
Or
that
vice versa.
right? I think it would be better for the flow of traffic if we were doing one versus the other, to do the one-way on Greenwood and Bradley, rather than do the 18th from New Bedford to B.
So my thought process in there, in listening to this over the years, and really having the conversations about Bradley and 19th and Greenwood many times, the problems that are occurring at this point, that are occurring on Bradley, where you have traffic coming up 19th Avenue, usually from DJs, and from the beach. I'm not singling out DJs, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I'm just saying, coming up 19th Avenue from the beach area, and flying down Bradley Terrace, taking the turn really quick, flying down a very tight street, and then making a left onto 18th to leave town. If we were to create one-ways that had Bradley Terrace coming south and Greenwood going north, I think that would just create the problem on Greenwood that exists currently on Bradley.
Well, the idea was to pull the traffic in on one street and to pull the traffic out the other,
Right.
because the same thing happens going in as well. So that was the idea, to pull one.
Right, but I think in all the discussions that we had up until this one, we never really considered 18th Avenue between New Bedford and B Street as a one-way,
Right,
until the traffic study
Right.
suggested.
right. And that was the idea, was to loop people out, to kind of get the idea that the traffic isn't flowing, that they can't come
And
down.
I think it's very important to point out that these mostly are coming from the traffic study, these are
Right.
recommendations from the traffic study.
Right.
Just want to throw in there on 19th Avenue, during the summer months, we do shut down westbound traffic at 19th and Ocean to keep it, basically to keep the taxis and the Ubers from circling in that area, in the residential area. We started it last summer and it worked out very well. It cut down the traffic that was going into the residential area, because they were coming up 18th, couldn't find a parking spot on Ocean Avenue, and then they're swinging back down 19th and around in that area, from, Ocean Avenue down to B Street. So, just to keep that in mind, I 100% will be doing it again this summer, just to try to alleviate, the traffic going into the residential area on weekends.
And Chief, when is that, from when to when?
Last year we probably started at midsummer, but I'm gonna try to start at Memorial Day
And
weekend.
what time did that go into effect?
I believe it was 7 or 8 p.m., I don't know the exact time. And then we kept it closed down until after bar closing, and then, it really changed the dynamic over there with the traffic. So,
Right, thank you.
Any questions at this point from council? Comments? Okay, so we talked about, so far on our agenda, ordinance. New Bedford, you're taking out 19th Avenue, Redmond, 17th Avenue needs an asterisk. Newman Street, which,
Taking Redmond out?
nope, Redmond's on there. Redmond's actually in existence, it exists right now. Yeah, I'm just saying what we talked about. Newman Street, we talked about.
That gets an asterisk? No.
No, just 17th Avenue gets an asterisk. I can cheat off
And
my notes.
Bradley does agree with, okay, good.
Bradley gets an asterisk, and Greenwood will get an asterisk. I'm just impressed that I'm saying asterisk the right way.
And the 18th Avenue from B to New Bedford also needs an asterisk.
Section 2, parking prohibited during certain hours on certain streets. No person shall park or stand a vehicle between the hours specified any day, including holidays, upon any of the streets described, except where other parking regulations have been provided for. 18th Avenue, which would get another asterisk because it is seasonal. And I guess we would have to move that key down to the bottom. South side only, Friday 6 PM to Sunday 6 PM. We would add end holidays. Do we have to describe what holidays they would be?
It's legal holidays, including holidays, right?
So it's just saying including holidays?
Yep. I'd say state holidays, because they're state government. Only holidays that the state recognizes, unless you want to do a state work festival.
We only got 3 holidays.
So Memorial Day,
Right.
4th of July, and Labor Day. All state holidays? Oh, they're all state.
They are.
Including state holidays. From Main Street to New Bedford Road.
Veterans Day is a holiday, too.
That's not seasonal.
I know.
Any vehicle parked, so Main Street, which is already in existence, any vehicle parked and stood in this section shall be subject to tow pursuant to our tow-away ordinance. That's an addition. It's an addition that we would post it. Section 3, I'm sorry, any comments on Section 2? Questions or comments from the council on Section 2?
And that just came out of the idea that we all know that holidays don't necessarily fall on Friday after 6 until Sunday 6. And the parking and passage through 18th Avenue became difficult on the holiday.
Section 3, three-way and four-way stop signs. The following intersections are hereby designated as three-way stop intersections. White Street and 17th Avenue, 3/4 of 17th is two-way. So my only question with this is, I actually don't, 17th Avenue is a two-way street. I don't mind putting a stop sign on White Street all year long. I don't necessarily know if we would need a stop sign on White Street because it's a T intersection. You have to stop it. Is that correct, Chief?
Yes.
Could be 2-way stop sign.
You can add stop signs, yeah. Reminders don't hurt. And then Newman Street and 17th Avenue, if it's two-way street, 4 corners. If it's a one-way street, it would just be 3 corners.
Newman would be one way, right?
If Newman was one way, if it was to stand, now again, we're talking about all of this as possibilities. If it were to stand, which now even becomes more complicated, because if Newman Street were to be one way, they would have one stop sign in one direction. 17th Avenue would be two-way, in the winter it would have 2 stop signs, but in the summer it would have 1 stop sign. So it could go from a 3-way, 3-corner to a 2-corner to a 1-corner. Questions on that, comments, thoughts? Section 4, speed humps. This was something that we brought up as a traffic calming solution. Originally, we had talked about the plastic moldable speed humps that we actually looked to and discovered that they would not be promising, to say the least. So we did look into the permanent asphalt speed humps.
I haven't got pricing on them, no,
The one thing we wanted to do was hold off on that really to really discuss the other ideas that we have that are not so permanent, before we went to permanent speed humps on those streets. So I would suggest at this time that we would take that out and hold that over for further discussion, if you don't mind.
Yep.
However, I would like to say that I think the speed hump on 18th Avenue is vital if we're moving the parking off of one side of the street. Okay, I think that really gets us through the gist of what we wanted to talk about. Any final comments or questions from the council before we open up to the public? Okay. Chief, I'm gonna ask you to relinquish your mic. If you don't mind,
Fine, back.
Okay, at this time, anyone from the public wishing to be heard, you may come to the mic. You can give your name, your address, you can ask your questions, you can make your comments. You come to the mic. Make your comments, ask your questions. Thank you.
Hello, Rod McKenzie, 409 Marwood Place. The thing with changing the direction on 19th Avenue, which we all remember, the problems that caused, and that time, we had over 3 times as many residents against that change then than we have here today. And plus, the state had given us a letter that we weren't supposed to even change.
We're not changing 19th Avenue. We took it
What
out.
about here?
We took it out.
You just took
Yeah,
it
we
out.
just took it out in our conversation.
Okay, I heard
Yep.
that. Okay, and also, I also want to say, the police chief has solved a lot of the traffic issues. Because I'm walking about, you see me all the time. I'm walking around, but we don't have a lot of traffic, you might think that we have in that little area from Bradley Terrace on. During the day, it's residents and people looking for parking spaces. And the Uber drivers really don't come through at night because she stops them. But once they do it once, they never come through again. They all just go to North Boulevard. So we don't have as much traffic as you think we do. We have a lot of cars because it's small and residents, and a lot of people don't have driveways. But the traffic isn't really that bad except really when it's a hot, busy Saturday. And even the big streets in Belmont, 2nd and 3rd, they're bogged down too. So what I'm saying is, let's not try to fix something that's not broken. And thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Ralph. Anyone else wishing to be heard?
Good evening. Bob Rumsby, 504 18th Avenue. Just a few points. You mentioned delaying the Hump Fund scenario. The big question we had on the last meeting was, can we do it legally? So we checked that out with the Department of Transportation.
We could do it on 17th Avenue. We're confident that we would be able to do it on 18th Avenue. We have not gotten an official word or okay. Honestly, I think the only thing that we would have to do is do another traffic study in the dead of winter and where the traffic is lower, and they would be, the state would be amenable to allowing us to do it.
I don't think you have to do another traffic study.
I think that would be the, yeah.
Can I explain
yeah,
why?
Sure.
Brief conversation I had with Brendan is, I believe the radar hardware that we have set up in 2 locations on 18th Avenue can record how many vehicles are passing in a day.
I believe well, I haven't looked in the programming yet, but I believe that was part of the sales pitch.
Awesome.
And I believe the software is in there, but I haven't gone in the look. We just got them hooked up and operating. So
Okay.
Yeah,
it's a
there's a lot of
big thing.
space when you open up those, the radar.
You're not opening up those radars.
Absolutely.
We'll definitely look into that.
The other point is, at our last meeting, we spoke about the Parkway. And I didn't see it in any of the agenda or discussion points. We spoke about limiting the truck traffic.
So the truck traffic is limited, we just need better signage, and that doesn't need to be in the ordinance, that's something that we'll work on with DPW, and where the signage is placed.
But I think now it's what, 4.5 ton trucks?
Four ton, I believe. I think we put them up
4 ton.
because there was one southbound, but not north, but coming up the book. I believe we put one up there and one on Fernwood also. There's a 4 ton limit.
And a 4 ton truck, I'll tell you, in the military, we had 1.5 ton trucks. So that's almost 3 times that size. That's a big truck. I think it has to be much lower than that. I would suggest you look at the size of the trucks, if any. One proposal I think perhaps to look at is the fact that no through traffic unless they're delivering on, Parkway, would be one way of looking at it. Because a lot of trucks, particularly the UPS, the FedEx, they actually cut that corner because it's recessed 25 feet, that aisle. And they're not going 15 miles an hour, by any means. So that's something I think that should be part, maybe not holding up the whole ordinance for that, but I think it should, something to be looked at in the very close future, I hope. One last comment, 3-way, 4-way stops. My wife and I are bicyclists. We bike around the town a lot. Particularly in Belmore, you have a lot of 3- and 4-way stops. A lot of car drivers ignore them, number one. And I've had a few discussions with them, as if you're on a bike and you're almost being flipped over in half. And the other point is, it also be incumbent upon us to make sure, particularly in the summer, that the trees are trimmed so you can actually see the stop sign. There are many signs in Belmore during the summer. Honestly, you can't see, particularly in some of the 4-way corners. So I just suggest that we take that into consideration when looking at 3 and 4-way signs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rumford.
Hi, Pat Cooper, I live at 1820 Bradley Terrace, and I just want to really thank the committee for, for all of their hard work on this, because on our street, I would have to say, no offense, Rod, but, sitting on my porch in the summer, I mean, there are face-offs in front of my house all day long. 3, 4 cars having to back up at a time, blowing their horns, cursing at each other. So it is an issue when we have traffic coming two ways, because there really are not a lot of places to park. And not only that, our driveways are very narrow too, so there's not a lot of room for cars to pull over out of the way. So I've really witnessed a lot of, near misses. My car got hit last year, and it was actually hit twice. Actually, one time I believe you told me my mirror was hanging and you were able to pop it back on. So it's like bumper cars on our street in the summer. So I just want to say thank you. I appreciate it. And, whatever your recommendations, I really do. Thank you very much for the work.
Anyone else?
Mayor, could I ask another question?
Sure, come on up. As long as you ask the me and the council.
Yeah, Mayor and Council. Rod McKenzie, 40911. Well, you said you removed it off this list. Could you please go over what is actually going to be on the list again? Is it the 18th Avenue? And,
Sure.
And also, could I ask one more question?
Sure.
About some of the one-way streets. Did they ever ask the residents what they might want, as for it?
Well, that's why we have meetings like this.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
I wanted to know, because you also mentioned about 18th Avenue changing, so we wouldn't be able to take a left on Bradley Terrace. Is that off the table, or is that,
So
one way between B Street and 18th?
that would still be in here.
So that would mean that every single person, like in our neighborhood, like right now, Alan, like myself, or we go around, we get to 18th Avenue, which is the main street in this town, I go past maybe 6 houses to get at 18th Avenue. But if you change that to one way, I've gotta go past 35 residents to get to get to North Boulevard. I mean, you're dumping all of this on the Beach Street, everybody. You know, so
Actually,
we're redirecting.
you, and I'm saying you wouldn't, yes, everybody would be either dumped onto B Street from Bradley via 19th Avenue or Greenwood via 18th Avenue. That's the way this is set up right now.
No, you mean in the ordinance, because that's not
Correct,
the way it is
no,
in
it's
the
in
real
the,
world.
right, that's the way this is what we're discussing right now, set up.
Because, I mean, it's just unfair, because we're redirecting all these people towards other residents, and the other residents aren't aware that, by the way, their traffic's gonna increase how much fold? Because, you know, that little street where she's busy there, well, did they ever look at maybe, you know, 19th Avenue is westbound from Belmont, so people come that way. Well, maybe that should just keep going a little bit further eastbound. You know, because the way their little study with the westbound and southbound, it just didn't make any sense.
What are you talking about?
I apologize.
No, that's okay. Listen, there's a lot of streets, we're talking about a lot of streets and a lot of
The
directions.
19th Avenue is westbound off the beach. Okay, so a lot of people come down that way.
Right.
And down Bradley Terrace, it's tight there,
Right.
because it's two-way right there. Okay? But that could be solved by just making that section one-way along with 19th Avenue and east, or westbound. 19th Avenue westbound, and westbound in front of their homes to Wildwood Place. And then they go and they take a left on 18th Avenue and hit, you know, go to Main Street. Instead of all of a sudden dumping them on a huge amount of residents in front of their homes.
So, right, so what you're suggesting is the problem that we have been discussing for many years on Bradley Terrace would be all of the traffic coming up from the beach, coming down Bradley Terrace and going out 18th Avenue. So what you're proposing would not address that issue.
I'm sorry, I'm just throwing ideas at you.
That's okay.
But maybe we shouldn't be doing all this at once.
Mhm.
You know, maybe we could do separate ordinances and see, so more people can, and look and see what there's, because just right now, just making a change on that 18th Avenue in that section, all of a sudden you got Briarwood and Wildwood Place, we all gotta head east to go home, you know? And in some situations, people might, like when they tried changing 19th Avenue before, to get home, we would have to go all the way, cut along Parkway, all the way through half the town. 100 residents would normally only went past 10 residents. Because when we make these changes, we're dumping the traffic on other residents. You know, it's not just like it disappears. You know, but, okay, I've been talking. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, sure.
Hey, Matt Gaten, 309 New Bedford. I didn't have the proposal, but can you clarify what's going on between 18th at New Bedford to Main? I'm on New Bedford and it seems like
So nothing is being changed from New Bedford to Main. So
On
from
18th.
from 18th Ave, from Main Street here at 18th Avenue to New Bedford, nothing would change.
it's still two-way.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, New Bedford would still have that seasonal direction.
Over on
Depends.
the 18th and 19th area. What if you kept, and I think this is what you were trying to say, keep 19th Avenue westbound from B Street down to Bradley Terrace and do northbound Bradley, northbound Greenwood, to where they go out onto 18th Avenue and keep the 18th Avenue two-way. So yes, you're gonna have two northbound streets going towards 18th Avenue, but it may alleviate everybody from going down Bradley Terrace, you know what I'm saying?
Say it again? I lost you.
So I'm at 19th and B Street, keeping it westbound as it is in Belmar, 19th Avenue, and then keeping, doing Greenwood and Bradley Terrace both northbound towards 18th Avenue, and then keep 18th Avenue as is the two-way right now.
People
You're
have-
still gonna get beach traffic, and you're still gonna get traffic down the
So
street.
in order to get in Granby Terrace to Greenwood, you would have to go down to B Street and come up 19.
What was that, I'm sorry?
Yes.
They're both going northbound.
If you wanted to get to Wildwood Place, which our last
Yeah,
speaker
yeah,
was
you'd have
from,
to-
you would have to go down
all right.
18th Avenue to B Street, to 19th, back to Bradley, to Wildwood.
There's way too many of those streets in Lakeville.
19th
Or
Avenue
you
just
would
went
come-
all the way through,
I
it'd
know.
be much better.
Or you would come down North Boulevard
You could tie
to
Wildwood
Schneider
into Parkway.
to
Up through that lot,
to-
that door here.
Or you make one-way,
Who lives in this house right here? No, I'm just kidding.
one-way south.
So,
Granby one-way north, and make 18, well, two ways.
so, listen, and this has been an area of discussion for many years. The only suggestion that came out of the traffic study for this area was 18th Avenue, which is really why we're talking about it. The other thing is too, because there's no traffic study, this is gonna be seasonal, so it doesn't have to happen tonight.
Right.
This is something that we can continue to discuss. We can even ask our engineers to go in and get some data for that area, so we can make a more informed decision on that area. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I'm just making a suggestion, you don't have to cancel that suggestion. Okay, any other comments or questions from the public on this workshop? Okay. Seeing none, I'll close the public portion. So before we discuss what we want to bring over to the agenda, if we want to bring anything over to the agenda, is there anything that council, after hearing the public and hearing our little discussion, would like to remove from tonight's agenda, or hold the entire ordinance over for further discussion? Any comments on that? My small recommendation to the council would be to maybe hold off on the 18th Avenue, Bradley Terrace, and Greenwood Terrace until we get some more data, and then maybe we can make an informed decision whether it is continue doing it that way. But I feel like with this, we're kind of back to where we were 2 years ago, when we were saying, well, we'll do it this way, let's do it this way, instead of having the data that we have on the other streets. Would that be agreeable?
So when you say the data, so the engineers that did this study, they didn't look at that area?
They didn't look at Bradley or Greenwood.
Okay, all right, so we would ask them to do that part, and then I see, okay.
And would they do that part during the summer?
And have them do that part whenever they want. So, the only thing that would change during the summer is the traffic, the amount of traffic that are on those roads. The measurements that they're going to do and all of that of the roads, they've already made a recommendation on 18th, and they're saying that 18th is too small to have two lanes. They're probably gonna come back and say the same thing with Bradley and Greenwood as well.
That was my point. I don't think it's gonna change what we know about the street. There's not enough spaces to pull over, to get out of someone's way. The driveways are too narrow to get a car in perpendicular to the driveway, to move out of the way. I don't know that a traffic study is going to tell us anything that we don't know, and
Good point, yeah.
that's my point. We know we can't fit parking on both sides and two cars heading in opposite directions. It just doesn't fit.
And the other thing is, you could always redo the ordinance if it's that bad of a, you know, next year this time you could change the ordinance again. It's really advertising for it.
Yeah, of course, and you're also just, if you move it to the regular agenda, you're just introducing it. Remember, you're gonna have a hearing on it at the next meeting, so this would be introduction of this ordinance at the next meeting, we have a public hearing on it, and you can finally adopt it then.
So, any thoughts, any other thoughts or amendments to what's in front of us?
I think the biggest piece to keep in mind is, although I know there's some inconvenience about getting around and getting back home, I think the most important thing is the safety and the passage through the streets, and that we're talking about seasonal, we're not talking about year-round. And I think that's the biggest thing to remember, the biggest takeaway is we're not suggesting that some of these things are going to take place year-round. It's from Memorial Day to Labor Day, or the 15th to the 15th.
Yeah, Councilwoman, just so we're clear, it says May 15th, that's
Yeah,
right.
Right, that's
not
what it-
May
that's-
15th, May
yes.
15th.
Yeah, that's why I corrected myself, 15 to 15.
Okay. Anything else?
So Mayor, it might be a good idea just for you to run through.
Yep,
what You
that's what we're gonna
understand
do
is
right
in
now.
and not in, and then have one of the council people move it to the regular agenda if they want to.
So if we're going through this again, and the public can follow along, we're gonna begin with the second, whereas the Borough Council has determined it to be public interest to convert Newman Street, 18th Avenue between New Bedford and B Street, Bradley Terrace and Greenwood Terrace to one-way roadways. To extend the weekend parking prohibition to holidays and provide for tow-away. To convert the intersection of Newman Street and 17th Avenue to four, that would actually be three-way stop sign. To convert the intersection of White Street and 17th Avenue to a three-way stop sign, that's okay. And we're going to leave out install speed humps at this time. Section 1. One-way streets is amended to read as follows. New Bedford Road with an asterisk, westbound, entire length both sides. Redmond Avenue eastbound, entire length both sides, which already is in existence. 17th Avenue with an asterisk, westbound, entire length both sides. Newman Street southbound, entire length both sides. 18th Avenue with an asterisk, eastbound, from New Bedford Road to B Street, both sides. Bradley Terrace with an asterisk, southbound, entire length, both sides. Greenwood Terrace with an asterisk, northbound, entire length, both sides. The asterisk key from May 15th to September 15th will actually move down to below section 2, or can we just double it, top it, and double it?
We can do either one, but that's for purposes of tonight, we're not gonna change it dramatically enough to require reintroduction.
Section 2, parking prohibited during certain hours on certain streets. 18th Avenue will have an asterisk. South side only, Friday 6 p.m. to Sunday 6 p.m., and including state holidays. From Main Street to New Bedford Road. Main Street, Monday through Friday when school is open in session, 2:30 to 3:30 from northwest corner of 18th Avenue to Main Street, which is already in existence. We are adding the tow-away subsection there, 7-3. Section 3, four-way stop signs. We can leave four-way, three-way. Intersection White Street and 17th Avenue, three corners of 17th. Newman Street and 17th Avenue, that is three quarters.
Wait, I have a question though, if you're only making the 17th Avenue westbound in season, so there will be times when it is a two-way street? So should it be four corners when it's a two-way street and?
No, because White Street is a T intersection.
Got it, okay.
Section 4 is removed. And then all of the other sections will move on. If the council wanted to move this to the agenda for tonight for a first reading, they would make a recommendation at this point. I'll let that workshop.
Yes.
I will move it.
And it does need a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Whitty?
Yes.
Stoll?
Yes.
D'Antuano?
Yes.
Ventries?
Yes.
Doyle?
Yes.
So, This will now become ordinance
966.
2021-966 under new business. Okay. At this time, the workshop meeting has come to an end.
Mayor, could I ask another question?
No, you can't, sorry. It is now 8:25. I will call the regular Borough Council meeting of Lake Como to order. Please rise for salute the flag and a moment of silent reflection. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Sunshine Law, please.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the adoption of a resolution by the mayor and council on the 5th day of January 2021, in which resolution the time and place of agenda and regular meetings commencing with January 5th were set forth. Notice the same was delivered to the Asbury Park Press, the Co-Star, and Tap Into, and a copy of the notice was posted on the borough website and on the bulletin board in Borough Hall. All meetings are open to the public.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Whitty?
Here.
Skull?
Here.
D'Antuano?
Here.
Councilmember DeMoro has an excused absence. Councilmember Ventries?
Here.
Alvala Doyle?
Here.
Can I have a motion, please, to approve the minutes from the October 19th meeting? We had a couple of people that were not there.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
We have no communications. We'll have reports of committee, starting with Councilwoman Albala Doyle.
Traffic study, all matters are in order, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Ventries.
The Environmental Commission has a meeting next Thursday, the 18th, at 7:00 p.m. Otherwise, all matters are in order.
Councilman D'Antuano.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one quick update on the Monmouth Ocean Area Energy Cooperative that the bid took place I think a couple of weeks ago, and they were not able to obtain favorable pricing. So at this time, the program is discontinued. Residents who are participating are going to be switched back to the utility electric provider. And the program is going to go out for bid in 2022, and we'll see what happens with energy prices. And if they can obtain favorable pricing, then we can reopen the program.
I have a quick question, and it was brought to me during coffee with the mayor, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, or even if you know the answer to this, but the question was, when those bids go out to bidding companies, are there any green options that are available to those, for those companies? Like, is there any green options for energy usage? You know?
There can be. It depends what you ask for. Like typically, you got to tell the people bidding, do you want like a fixed rate? Do you want a variable rate that can be capped? Do you want a green rate that's going to be a little higher?
Okay.
So it really depends on when the program goes out to bid, what they specify they're looking for.
And the green companies, those green rates tend to be more expensive than the,
It depends, but probably.
I knew you would have the answer. Thank you very much. Councilwoman Scull?
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to let our residents know that we have a tree lighting scheduled for Saturday, December
Can you believe
2nd.
it? It's Christmas.
I know.
What date?
December 2nd, Saturday, December 2nd at 6 p.m. here at Borough Hall. And then the holiday decorating contest is scheduled for Thursday, December 16th. So that's when mayor and council come around and drive around town and look at the lights in town, and there's prizes. So have your homes lit up by 6 p.m. that night. And then the November business of the month is Mana Physical Therapy on Main Street. And haven't posted, the Q&A from them yet because Dr. Laura Kelly is out of town, but I'll be posting that hopefully on Facebook this week, so you can check out that, to learn more about that business.
It's my fault, I made the flyer wrong, it's December 4th for the tree lighting, it's a Saturday, not the 2nd.
Oh, okay. Just make sure that's a Saturday. Okay, all right, December 2nd. I'm sorry, 4th, excuse me, Saturday, December 4th at 6 PM for the tree lighting.
And Santa is also planning on visiting, the kids again, the same night as the, trolley, you guys going around house decorating contest, the 17th?
You're saying he is?
The 16th, it is, it's gonna be the same night,
Oh, really?
yes.
Ooh, what is
It was last year too, though, I think you guys liked it last year, because there was more people out and.
Sorry.
Yeah,
We'll figure it out.
yeah, we'll figure it out. Last
figure
year
it
we
out.
did it individually, this year we were gonna do it together.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if that's gonna be a conflict with Santa and some of our council parents. Figure it
We'll figure it
Oh,
out.
okay.
Make it work.
Yeah. Okay,
out.
other
I mean,
than
Doug
that.
and I can just go on our own. And Peter.
All matters are in order, other than that.
Thank you, Council President Goody.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. During the summer months, we have a program called Cops and Shops where we have police officers at Bar A checking IDs. And last summer, we put 60 people trying to get in with false IDs during the summer. And that, each one was probably $1,000 to $2,000 fine for the town. So we made some money off of that. And we don't pay for the cops because we get a grant from the state to pay for the cops being on site.
It's a win-win.
Thank you, Chief.
So other than that, the matter's in order.
Thank you very much. As for my report, I would like to thank everyone for coming out tonight for the workshop, to share your discussions. I'm sure we'll hear a little bit more in the next coming minutes and in the next meeting, but I thank you for sharing your comments and adding to our discourse. I do want to congratulate Chris, Pete, and Heather for their election win this year. Welcome back. You wanted this, remember that. We are scheduling coffee with the mayor this month. It is the 20th, this November 20th, right here at Borough Hall, from 9 to 10:30. We've been picking up. We had more than 2 people show up at the last one, which was nice. But it's nice to get people back and see people again. Also, I did want to add that we did replace the streetlight at Main, 18th Avenue in Maine. We passed a resolution a couple meetings ago to pay for that. We had gotten a report that had reached its lifespan, and we needed to replace the entire fixture, just not light bulbs. So we did take care of that. It looks great. So, did you do that, or did
Contract.
contract? Well, good job anyway. With that, all matters in order. Thank you. At this time, I will take a motion to open for public comments on the consent agenda
So moved.
Second.
and new business. We have a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Anyone wishing to speak to anything in the consent agenda or new business, including the ordinance we just put on it, you may come back up to the microphone and give your name and address and comments or questions. Just what's on the new business and consent agenda, which includes the ordinance we just talked
Hello again, Rob McKenzie, 4009 Wildwood Place. As I was talking about, our little section of town, and with the traffic study, changing 18th Avenue, the way they're doing it, at the end. An average day, when that's almost half a year, 5 months, when you look at it. But where we live, in that neighborhood, enough to head like me, when I pull out every day, I have to now drive by all those homes on Bradley Terrace. I used to just take a left and go past 3. Now I have to go past 25 to get out, to head out to Main Street. And also, this store lives on Bradley Terrace also. If you drop your family off at the beach, do you know how you're gonna get home from there?
I
Have you
do.
thought?
And I will be inconvenienced for the safety and the passage, absolutely, I understand
Okay.
that.
We haven't had any pedestrians here. okay, and there's been no accidents over there. Mirrors, yes, which all would count.
And cars.
Okay, but in your case, where you live, you drop your family off at the beach, you drive home, you have to drive down North Boulevard, go past every one of those houses on Parkway, all the way up on 18th, and back all of Bradley Terrace. So for that minor little thing, upset, you're suddenly transferring all that traffic from our entire neighborhood on those other 100 homes. And it's not fair to them. We had every single resident on Bradley Terrace, on Parkway, signed a petition to stop this because they knew it was all gonna land on that tiny little street, our entire neighborhood. And it's wrong. It's not the answer to the problem. There may be a problem, but this is not the answer. You gotta really sit down and just think about right there. And the police chief came up with a terrific idea to do it one way. But instead of going all the way they could have just stopped the one way at Wildwood Place where we are and not do the 18th Avenue change. And maybe not change Briarwood at all. Maybe the residents on Briarwood don't want any changes. Just in that one little section, they could make it one way, the same as she said, 19th, it's eastbound and then northbound. And in Wildwood Place, you put the one-way sign up there. So when I leave, I wouldn't drive by your house. And when you come back from the beach, you wouldn't go down all those homes on Parkway. We're just transferring all the traffic onto people that aren't here and aren't aware of it. The Parkway is not an easy road to drive down. It's actually more difficult than Bradley Terrace. To go down it. It's lost a whole lot more mirrors got lost on Parkway than they did on Bradley Terrace. And like I said, there's a lot of changes you're making once. I understand. There's really no reason to throw them all in. I think you should look at that part of town differently. Because we're punishing other residents. I'll be punishing them because I have to drive by their homes. Like I said, the ratio is almost 10 to 1. I have to drive past 10 more residents' homes than I do now. And I don't think it's fair. And I don't think it was thought out. And nobody asked anybody on Briarwood. Nobody asked anybody on Bradley Terrace what they may think. Okay, I'm sorry for taking
No,
too
it's
much
okay.
time.
Thank you, I
But I
appreciate
do
it.
want you to think it out because it's going to be really punishing. She's going to rough every house up on Parkway. I'm sorry. Every resident that does it is going to rough up all the residents on Parkway, driving down the length of that road, up 18th Avenue, and back on Bradley Terrace, just so we don't go past the little corner. This is all to benefit 6 houses on one little corner at the expense of 150 homes. No, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wanting to speak to the consent agenda or new business? Okay, seeing none, I'll take a motion to close the public portion.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
With that, can I have a motion to move the consent, a motion for the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Under new business, resolution 2021-132, offered by Council President Whitty.
So offered resolution 2021-132, be resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Lake Como that the proper officers be directed and authorized to make payment from the following account. Current account $737,936.52. Water sewer account $111,221.95. Payroll account $37,569.08. And tourism account $1,752.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Questions? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Whitty?
Yes.
Skull?
Yes.
Antoine?
Yes.
Ventrice?
Yes.
Alpala Doyle?
Yes.
Thank you. Resolution 2021-136, offered by Councilman D'Antuano.
Thank you, Mayor. So offered resolution 2021-136. This is the resolution of the Borough Council authorizing the purchase of the supply, installation, and training of a digital court streaming and recorder and multi-channel video recording system. So this will be for the Borough Council room. and we're making the purchase through the Educational Services Commission of New Jersey Cooperative Pricing System contract to obtain favorable pricing.
Louise, can you just give us a little background about why we're purchasing this and what was the reason why we went through this?
Yes, it came up while we were doing Zoom recorded meetings, during the beginning of the pandemic, and, it was suggested by, residents as well as council members, that they did find it convenient that they could use Zoom if they couldn't actually physically be here to participate in the meeting. So this would allow you to, have the meetings recorded and televised, so people could watch them. If you wanted to open it up to, having a hybrid meeting, it does give you that capability as well. So it sort of gives you the flexibility, and also give you, skills for, presentations in the future that the screen would be able to be used when we have people come and give reports. It would show up on the 2 TV screens in the walls.
Okay.
We'll also update this, sound system that we've had, since the early 2000s, so.
Thank you. I have a motion, can I have a second?
Second.
Any questions from the council? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Whitty?
Yes.
Skull?
Yes.
D'Antuano?
Yes.
Ventries?
Yes.
Doyle?
Yes.
Thank you. Resolution 2021-132, offered by Councilman Skull.
37.
I'm sorry, 137.
Offering resolution 2021-137, be it resolved by the mayor and council of the Borough of Lake Como that the proper officers be directed and authorized to make payment from the following account. The current account, New Jersey Natural Gas, $158.92.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Whitty?
Yes.
Skull?
Yes.
D'Antuano?
Abstain?
Ventries?
Yes.
Doyle?
Yes.
Thank you. And we have ordinance 2021-966. I'm going to ask Councilwoman Skull, since you brought it to the agenda, to make a motion.
Sure. Okay. So I am offering ordinance number 2021-966, ordinance of the Borough of Lake Como regarding traffic flow and parking. I'm not gonna go through all of it, the changes that we just made, because I feel like we did that. So offering this ordinance with the changes that we went through during the workshop. That's enough.
Just for introduction and first reading.
For introduction and first reading.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
Roll call, please. Questions before we do a roll call? Any questions? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Whitty?
Yes.
Skull?
Yes.
D'Antuano?
Yes.
Ventries?
Yes.
Doyle?
Yes.
At this time, we'll take a motion to open for public comments.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to come to the mic for comments at all? And this is just a notification, we'll be going to an executive session after the public comments, and then be returning to adjourn. Anyone wishing to come to the mic for comments or questions on anything at all, please feel free to do so now. Seeing none, I'll take a motion to close the public portion.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. At this time, we will be retiring to an ante-room to have an executive session. We will be returning to the council chambers and making notification if any action needs to be taken. If not, we will be adjourning for the